Center is where we tell you the ongoing successes on the war against terror. It will give you a panorama. In the face of an ongoing insurgency in the Northeast. Good day. You are welcome to this week's edition of your favorite program, Command Center. Live from the Silverbird Television Abuja studios, Command Center will give you an up-to-date information on the war against terror. My name is Amadin Uyi and I am your host on this program. Now, so much has been happening in the last 1 week on the terrain of combating terrorism and trying to ensure that there is peace and security in Nigeria. In the last few days, first of all, from the follow-up of the takeover of Camp Zero sometime in December, to so much that has been happening this week. The increased suicide bombings by Boko Haram suicide bombers, the botched and failed attack of a Boko Haram gathering in the north, gathering barely a few days ago, which killed so many people. But right today on the program, we are going to have a security expert, Kabir Adamu, who will look at all that has been happening and give us an appraisal on whether we are winning the war or not. But before we go on this short break, we want you to join the conversation on our Facebook page, STV Command Center, and follow us on Twitter at Command Center 16.
Terrorism is not jihad. It is cruel, wicked, and man's inhumanity to man. Both Islam and Christianity abhor the killings of the weak and defenseless. There can be no development without peace and security. See something, say something. Let's give peace a chance.
Welcome back. Before we go to an in-depth analysis on the efforts against Boko Haram by the Nigerian Armed Forces, we'll just take a look at certain events which have occurred in the last 1 week. The Air Force just recently graduated over 300 new cadets. According to the Chief of Air Staff, the cadets will help boost the Air Force operations and will be posted around the country because, according to the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, the Air Force is expanding to be able to contain insecurity around the country. Let's watch this report. It was a colorful ceremony as those graduating from the 6 months intensive basic military training in Kaduna were engaged in a march past parade to celebrate their call to service. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, while commending the graduates for a successful participation, tasked them to imbibe the virtues of loyalty, discipline, honesty, and courage.
It is the possession of these virtues that binds all ranks in the service. It ties the leader and the led, and engenders mutual respect and trust. It transforms individual personnel into a team, creates and nourishes formations, units, and sub-units in the Nigerian Air Force, and indeed in the armed forces.
He also charged them to be committed to their duties and serve as good ambassadors of the nation's armed forces.
Always remember that your duty is to protect all Nigerians irrespective of their ethnic background or religious inclination. Furthermore, you must not succumb to any inducement or acts that will cause disaffection amongst other members of the armed forces. You must obey your superiors and remain absolutely loyal to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Air Chief assured those being inducted into the Air Force that the military will provide an enabling environment for competition through hard work and professionalism. The Chief of Air Staff also commissioned several flats for accommodation of senior officers at the training school. From Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari commended the efforts of the armed forces at the various theaters of conflict as he joined senior government officials in marking the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. You will recall that the ceremony holds January the 15th every year, and is set aside to remember Nigeria's fallen heroes, those that sacrificed their lives for the nation on the various theaters of conflict. Now let's watch this report. The celebration began with a march past by a combined team of the armed forces. All service chiefs were ably present. Also, senior government officials with party members of the All Progressive Congress were in attendance. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo arrived shortly, followed by President Muhammadu Buhari. After inspection of the Guard of Honor, President Muhammadu Buhari led other officials present in the wreath-laying ceremony. The gun salute in remembrance of those who have died in the line of duty followed. President Muhammadu Buhari also had an opportunity to speak to Nigerian troops on the front lines in Sambisa, Liberia, and the Air Force Operational Headquarters in Yola, Adamawa State. From Abuja. That was the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. It's worthwhile to at least once a year remember our fallen heroes. For those who joined us from the beginning of the program, we said we have Kabir Adamu. He's the Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of Beacon Consulting, a security firm with vast knowledge on counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operations. He will be analyzing security issues which have occurred in the last 1 week. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Amadine.
Now, let's start from the tail end of last year. The capture of the year ended on a high for the military. The capture of Camp Zero. For many of us Nigerians, you think that capture of that particular camp, which many said is the headquarters, the operational headquarters of Boko Haram, do you think it was enough to make us heave a sigh of relief?
No, unfortunately, no. It would be erroneous to assume that Boko Haram or Jamaat al-Sunnah and Al-Dawat wal Jihad is a single group with one operational headquarters. I think it is very erroneous to make that assumption. Yes, the Sambisa forest may have been an important operational base for a faction of the group, But as we know, there are other factions that are operating in Borno State. Then more importantly, there are other factions that have transcended Nigeria. They are operating outside Nigeria, in Chad, in Niger, and to an extent in Cameroon. So just because you've removed one operational base, it means there are other operational bases. And we should give kudos to the Nigerian military. They are aware of this. This is because we knew that the operation that led to the capture of Sambisa Forest was just one out of several other operations they were doing. So they realized that there were other elements of the military warfare that they have to contend with. But more importantly, the military operation is just one aspect of the counter-terrorism operation. Now, we've always said it, that you cannot use military power alone to win an insurgency warfare. And unfortunately, this is what is happening today.
Now, for us as Nigerians, with Shekau not yet behind bars, should we be bothered?
Yes, we should be bothered. For you to take out a group like Boko Haram, you need to take out its leaders. And one important leader is Shekau. There are other leaders too. But more importantly, you need to take out that message that Shekau is sending. What basis have we given the Nigerians in that part of the country? In that part of the country, what basis have we given them to understand that the message Shekau is giving them is not the correct message? So counter-radicalization, de-radicalization, for me, is a very important element in the warfare.
Now, coming into this year, we have seen an automatic increase in bombings, especially in Borno State. Let's recall the recent incidents at the University of Maiduguri, where a notable professor of veterinary medicine was also murdered while just trying to have his early morning prayers. Do you think at this point the military needs to change tactics?
It is not the military. There are other elements of the campaign that need to be worked on. So we know, for instance, that the military has changed its operation. It's blocking the outer ring of the city. What is happening to the police? How about the Civil Defense Corps? What are they doing? Why are they not helping individuals like you and I implement our anti-terrorism measures? The university, it is the citadel of knowledge in that city. And we know that this group, Jamaat al-Sunnah, is against Western education. So there is no symbol of Western education that is greater than that university in the city. So there should have been a commensurate level of security in that university to tally with the threat against it. Unfortunately, we didn't see that. So we need to see the other security forces, the police, the civil defense, support or complement the effort of the military. We need to see them help ordinary citizens like you and I implement anti-terrorism measures. And of course, institutions that are vulnerable to that attack. I weep in a sense that I go to the Borno a lot, I go to Maiduguri a lot, and every time I visit there, I see certain targets waiting to be exploited. Now that is not acceptable. There are government agencies whose responsibility it is to make sure that these vulnerable targets are not there. And they're there. They see those things, so how come they're not doing anything about it? And I expect to see the Borno State government taking such measures as well.
Now, you talked about government agencies. I don't want to get to the issue of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, because they are not visible. They have failed in this war because they are meant to be protecting civilian targets, but we don't know. We just see senseless press releases saying they will protect critical infrastructure. What about Nigerians? But now let's look at the intelligence agencies. How will you appraise their efforts so far in the light of these recent bombings?
If I'm marking them, frankly, out of 10, I'll give them 1. And that's a failure. I would like to see more effort. We need to analyze what a bomb is. What are the components of a bomb, an IED? What type of intelligence do we have about the materials that are assembled together to make the bomb? Now, how do we go about to limit the access of the bomb makers? Remember, there must be an expert in that bomb making. There has to be someone helping him to gather those materials together. And then there is someone who is good in psychology who convinces the carriers of those bombs to carry those bombs, assuming they are doing it willingly. There may be others who are not doing it willingly. So there are different components of that chain that can be broken, and it is only through intelligence that we can break that chain. We've seen several times in the past where the carriers of this bomb have been arrested. Now, what measures have been put in place to demystify the chain with which that carrier arrived at a particular location? Intelligence will do that. So they are not doing enough. They need to do more. We need to see real collection, we need to see real analysis, we need to see real cohesion between the various elements of the intelligence arms of the security forces. It is then. I'm happy with the introduction of this incentive, I'll call it that, by the Nigerian military, that if you provide any information, they will pay 500,000. It's a good development, but there is an issue there, the mistrust between the civil populace and the Nigerian military. It is a huge mistrust. And honestly, for that policy to be effective, that mistrust has to be broken. So we need to see tangible effort by the other security departments to assist the military in this effort that they came. Frankly, it shouldn't have been the military that came out with that announcement. It should have been the civil security departments. They are the ones that live side by side with you and I, and they are the ones that, if anything is happening, should know. But unfortunately, it appears they are more concerned with other things than their work.
I wanted to go to the incidents at Rann, Kalabage, but since you have raised this issue, it was meant to come up later in my questions. Now, are you saying it's not too late to salvage the situation, especially regarding trust?
It's not too late, not at all. It just takes a conscious realization and then a retraining for the ordinary, for the operative, the soldier, the police, and all the others to understand that the principal and single ethos of their function there is to protect the life and property of the Nigerian. If you and I know that that's what they're doing, then we'll support them. As long as we have doubt that that's what they're doing, then we're not going to support them.
Now let's go to the incidents at Rann, Kalabage. Following this campaign from the beginning, I told someone, I said the Air Force has been on this for close to 6 years and not one mistake. Now there's a mistake. For us in Command Center, we feel the outcry is needless because this is an arm that has conducted its operations. Even let's remember that Boko Haram even complained about the Air Force attacks. Now, as an expert, what is your take on it?
I agree with you totally that the Nigerian military, the Nigerian Air Force deserves our commendation. Even more developed and sophisticated military establishments like that of the US and that of Israel, they have carried out operational mistakes like the one we saw in Rann. For the Nigerian Air Force to have been carrying out operations for the past 6 to 7 years and without any major operational mistake like the one we saw in Rann yesterday, then they deserve our commendation. Now, to analyze what happened in Rann, we need a lot of information. I believe the first thing the Nigerian military should do is to establish an investigative committee. Let them do a thorough investigation, an objective one, and then tell the world what they found out. And if anyone is guilty of any breach of the protocols that have been established for carrying out such aerial attacks, that person to be punished. However, if we look at the details of the incident, we can say there are probably a couple of things. Firstly, intelligence. There may have been a failure of intelligence. There may have been a failure of equipment that could lead to what we saw. But having said all of that, the Nigerian military deserve our commendation for having carried out this operation this long without these types of operational mistakes.
You have heard it loud and clear from Kabir Adamu, the Chief Executive Officer of Beacon Consulting, a security firm which has much expertise in counterinsurgency and counter-terrorism operations. Thank you, Kabir. It was short. We hope we can have you again let's talk about this issue at Rann, but his message is loud and clear. The Nigerian military, the Nigerian Air Force needs our support and commendation at this point in time, because even advanced militaries make this kind of mistake. But for 6 years running, we have not experienced this. Do not forget to like our Facebook page. Let's keep let's keep the conversation going. STV Command Center, and also follow us on Twitter at Command Center 16. I remain your amiable host, Amadin Uyi. Do have a blessed week. Command Center is where we tell you the ongoing successes on the war against terror. It will give you a panorama. In the face of an ongoing insurgency in the northeast,